Morning, everyone. Today we are in Acts 21, verse 5 to 16. Paul and his team are in Tyre in Syria. They're on the way to Jerusalem. And we left our reading yesterday with that tricky verse 5, that says that the believers in Tyre, they tried to urge Paul through the Holy Spirit not to go back to Jerusalem. But Paul heads there anyway. So Paul leaves Tyre, and like when they left Ephesus, they kneel down together. Paul and the leaders, they're on the beach, they pray together. It is incredibly moving because there's a real sense that all of them know what lies ahead of Paul, the persecution, the suffering. But I think it's this priority of mission that drives Paul onwards, that drives him forwards. He is making mission the main thing. So they arrive at Caesarea, staying in Philip's household with his 4 daughters, who are all described as holding the office of prophet. So clearly, think about that dynamic. This is a household of devotion, a household with a shared purpose and mission and gifting. And it's here that we meet this character Agabus, a recognized prophet who binds Paul with his belt to prophetically demonstrate what is going to happen to Paul if he goes to Jerusalem. Agabus says, "This is what the Jews will do to you if you go to Jerusalem, you'll be bound." So the people with Paul, including Luke actually, if you read it, they beg Paul not to go. But once again, we see that Paul is prioritizing mission. He's making his decisions based on a sense of mission, of advancing the kingdom, even though he knows it will come at great cost to him. One of the things that has really stood out to me today and yesterday in recent readings is that although Paul is always on the move, although he is driven by mission, he's not a loner. He's not one man on a mission type of character. His life is rich with relationships. We see that here in the love and the affection and the concern that is shown to Paul. And Paul consistently builds team and raises up spiritual sons and daughters. That's what we've been reading in the last few chapters. So it's not like Paul has mission or family. Paul models this idea of a family on mission together really well. He's always traveling with leaders he's raising up. Finally, what about this idea of the believers through the Spirit urge Paul not to go to Jerusalem? And what about Agabus saying, "Don't go"? Well, for me, this is a really good example of the difference in prophecy between revelation and interpretation. Revelation and interpretation. They got the revelation right, that by the Spirit they had caught a glimpse of what would happen to Paul in the future if he went to Jerusalem. But it seems to me that their interpretation or their application of how to respond to the revelation, of what to do with that was what was wrong. They took it to mean that therefore Paul should not go. And I think it's a warning for us about jumping to conclusions, being too quick to apply what the Spirit might be saying to us. But I think Paul, he really understood that it wasn't the Spirit forbidding him, it was the Spirit forewarning him, forearming him. In God's grace, God was preparing Paul for the suffering that he would face. Paul knew that Jesus had called him to go back to Jerusalem. Indeed, a little later on in Acts 23, Jesus himself will stand alongside Paul in prison in Jerusalem and encourage and affirm Paul in that. So today I just want to encourage us to focus on the mission. That's what Paul is doing. Invest in relationships that have a shared sense of purpose. They are the relationships that become richest in our lives. And let's listen to the Spirit and keep listening to the Spirit. I suppose let's learn from those early church communities about what a healthy prophetic culture looks like. Have a wonderful day.